Fort there in the old days was dug up because of the amount of controversy that we've had here this year. But you know, even with the last day with Benny Coulter putting the ball into the net when he was obviously in the square, so it has changed the whole face of the championship, the Canal End goals. But you know, we've had brilliant football up to now. I think it's been a great year for football, and the minor game and the two semi-finals and the final have shown, you know, Gaelic football in a better light than probably for a decade, and hopefully we'll get a senior game that will brighten up a very dull, damp day.
Well, it is dull and damp, but I suppose it hasn't gotten any worse. It's gotten slightly better weather-wise, but still a bit of a mist.
It's a bit surprising because, I mean, if Owen O'Gara had been able to take advantage against the Dubs that day, I mean, Dublin would most certainly have won the game. They would have been so far ahead coming near the end, you know, and Graham was virtually a passenger throughout the game. And as you saw from the Henry Shefflin thing, first of all, it can be a huge distraction to a team, but secondly, nothing can prepare you for the intensity of this. I mean, I remember in the All-Ireland, you know, or big championship matches, you know yourself, lads, the ball's thrown in, you feel you can't breathe for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and 5 minutes in you're thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to survive this because of the absolutely high octane intensity, and you just can't protect injuries in that situation.
Okay, let's hear from one of the down players hoping to collect.
Fantastic to be here, and it's where I suppose ultimately every down footballer wants to be. You know, a lot of us do remember the 91 and 94 teams, and obviously we'll go on and on at the 60s teams as well. And the likes of Paddy Doherty and Sean O'Neill's of this world will still be at the games and we'll still be talking them after. So, you know, those guys are legends, and we just hope to write our own wee bit of history now. We had a good National League, albeit we were beat by Armagh in the final in Croke Park, but it was a good National League. We went through the league, the rounds of it unbeaten. You know, our promotion to Division 1 is where you want to be and playing your football. So I suppose, you know, when you go home to your family, and my own father, who would be a bit of a critic too, he would say, listen, there's definitely something in that team and you're going well. So I guess the people that you trust would obviously say, yes, you see a difference in the team and you see potentials. I suppose our record's impeccable because we haven't been there that much. But yes, as a player, I don't want to be the first to take away from our record. When it comes to a final, there's pressure of any degree. You have to go and win a final. That's what they're there for, to win. Nice, ugly, whatever way you want to put it. For my family, it will be, you can't describe it, you know, it will be the proudest moment of my life. Something that I want to do as well, because nobody from Salva's ever won an All-Ireland before, so I want to make sure I take Sam home to Salva as well. Somebody says to me, what's pressure? And you know, I suppose pressure is something you put in tires, but that's maybe the way we look at it. But there's always nerves, but you know, I would like to think that it spurs me on a wee bit more, and after the first 2 or 3 minutes, it wouldn't be long sorting out in Croke Park. I really look forward to the game, and it's where I want to be, and I just know where all the old boys want to be at this time of the year, and it's great to be there.
As Porrick Joy said here on this programme a little bit earlier, pressure is for tyres. You were talking about the transformation in Danny Hughes since last year.
Well, I mean, people for years have been describing him as a footer and a solo runner. I mean, I remember against Wicklow last year, they just looked a total rabble, and it shows you the difference when you've got a manager who's got a very clear vision. Now, you see Danny Hughes, he plays the doer role for Down. He knows exactly what his job is. He's very happy and he's thriving at that. He's tackling back. He understands exactly what his role is. So now, whenever a player doesn't know what his role is, the tendency is to just try harder and to be sort of aimless on the field. You watch Down 12 months ago, you would say there's absolutely no chance in the world they'll win an All-Ireland final. Yet a manager comes in, introduces a platform that allows players to play.
A manager and his backup team, like Brian McIver, former Donegal manager, is there with him as well, and a highly regarded coach.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course Paddy Talley, who trained Tyrone to win the All-Ireland as well. So, like what James McCartan has done, and what every good manager should do, is they bring in talented people to help them, especially in the speciality areas like physical fitness and, you know, in terms of player organisation. So the best managers are not afraid to give people who they think that are better than themselves a role in the team. The bad manager wants to do everything.
The whole lot himself, yeah. And in fairness to Conor Coonahan, he's in the same sort of light as that.
He has, but you know, the only thing about it is that, I mean, a psychologist would have a field day to day here, because you have a team of full of self-belief when they arrive at the big stage and down, and you have a team like Cork who arrive at the big stage with self-doubt, and that's what seems to permeate their play all throughout this championship. It's like the shackles of fear, the fear of losing, the fear of never winning in All-Ireland. That's why they've adopted this game plan this year, this sort of negative in a way, but this safety first possession football, and it's born out of fear. And you know, sometimes I just think that a lot of the management in the J world, the coaches in the J world, you know, if they were with Christopher Columbus sailing to America, you know, they'd have landed at the Azores and they'd say, look, we've got far enough, you know, we won't take a chance going further. You saw it with the Cork Miners there, who got rid of the fear, got rid of the inhibition for the last couple of minutes and gave it a lash, you know. Dr. Eamon O'Shea, the Tipperary coach, he says, you know, about the Tipperary team, he said, don't feed them with too much information. Let the players express themselves. And if Cork are allowed to express themselves today, they'll win it.
Yeah, and in fairness to Christopher Columbus, he got off the boat to hello people of India. Let's say off to Joanne Cantwell. She is down pitchside with some people to talk to.
Thank you very much, Michael. Well, Kevin Walsh and Mickey Ned O'Sullivan are here with me. They've come down pitchside, even though their hearts were broken by Cork and Down this summer. Now, many people might think that it was the Dublin match that Cork nearly came a cropper in, but it was actually Limerick who pushed them closer, and Mickey Ned. So, Mickey Ned, what is the key to beating Cork?
Well, I think it's going to be a very, very tactical game. Down have developed a very, very efficient defensive system. The moment they lose the ball, their two wing forwards, their two midfielders close down the space in front of the full back line, which they want to protect. Now, if Cork have got to win today, they've got to forget playing the ball across the field. They've got to bypass it, get the ball in directly into the full forward line, where they have the full forward line that will trouble the down full back line. I think, secondly, they must get their matchups right. The right person on Benny Coulter and the right person on Marty Clark. And I think Cork will do it.
Who are the right people for Marty Clark and Benny Coulter?
I think Shields and Owen Cadigan.
Okay, well, Kevin, everybody assumed that when your Sligo team went out of the hands of Down, that most of it was to do with the fact that you were still overcoming the Connacht final defeat. Did you know then, though, when you saw Down play so impressively against you, that they were potential All-Ireland champions?
Yeah, well, I go back to the league. I think they got 13 out of 14 points in the league against very good opposition. You know, I think they lost here then to Armagh in the league final, and you know, I think they found themselves 8 points to 3 up against Tyrone, playing against the breeze, and wherever they went to maybe a little bit defensive, was it lack of belief or whatever. But I've been watching them all year, and I just think that they're improving, and getting over the last two hurls is a huge thing for them. And I think coming into today, they'll have absolutely no fear whatsoever.
Do you think Down are going to win today?
I do. I think that their half forward line in particular, you know, there's not much said about them. And most kickouts, they like to win the breaking ball facing their own goal, and they're quite good at it. So the minute they get that, they're gone, and they put me on the back foot straight away. So I expect Down to come through today by 2 or 3 points.
Mickey Ned, you don't agree?
Well, I think it's an intriguing match, because you have the forum team of the championship Down against the most consistent team of the year, Cork. I would go for Cork because of their consistency, because they have greater depth and strength in the panel, which will be decisive 15 minutes into the second half.
Okay, thanks a lot, lads. And take note, by the way, that both these men have tipped the teams that knocked their sides out of the championship.
That's absolutely right. Joanne Cantwell, thank you very much for that. Okay, we're going to take you to a commercial break here at the moment. I need to take a break.
Equipped to deal with that this year. Plus, I mean, that expectation going out in most matches favourites this year, you know, it is tough to deal with sometimes. And you know, I think there's an unrealistic expectation out there, like that we should be winning games by more, and I think that probably is being disrespectful to the opposition. Like, I mean, Dublin, for example, were brilliant in this year's championship. The fact we're in an All-Ireland final, that was our goal after losing last year's final, to get there regardless of who we're playing. You know, these chances don't come around that often, and you know, we realise that we need to take this chance. But I mean, Down are going to be saying the exact same things to themselves. They're playing up in Ulster every year. Very hard to get out of there, and then, you know, if they go the backdoor route, it's a bit of a minefield as well. So we're treating this as a once-off game, and you know, if we prepare properly and we produce a good performance on the day, we feel that we're going to win.
That's the Cork goalkeeper Alan Quirk. Seen a couple of bad days here at Croke Park. Hopefully he's going to see, from his point of view, a good one today. One of the things about a Colin O'Rourke is, you know, you can't get away from the fact that you talk about the fact that Cork, and Pat was saying earlier on, you know, the fear factor in their play and all that, but they were here last year. They've had this experience, and there's nothing like playing in All-Ireland, as you know yourself, to come out the next year and say, listen, we know what the day is all about. Now, Down don't have that, no matter what you say about how they play.
That's right, and Cork, of course, you know, in fairness, in 89, 88 and 89 lost finals and came back the following 2 years, and a lot of the players would say, you know, that the bad experiences drove them on to have the good experiences of the years that they won. And, you know, Down always come here and play with this great swagger and self-confidence, but, you know, sometimes that self-confidence can be skin deep as well, because we want to see Down under pressure today, to see Cork in front and what really Down are about, you know, because Cork need a good start, and Down have been sort of steamrolling opposition early on, so it would be interesting to see if Down were behind, what would be, you know, in the locker, because normally what happens is if a team is coming into a first final and things start going wrong for them, you know, they go wrong for the whole game.
It is interesting, Pat Spillane, that, you know, people are saying if Down get a good start, then Cork might crumble. But then people are saying if Cork get a good start, as Colin has been saying.
I don't think any of the two teams will crumble. But I mean, Down, it's hard to get a real handle on this Down team. There's no doubt about it. Since they hammered Sligo, beat Kerry, beat Kildare, they've been the most impressive team in the championship over the last 8-10 weeks. And, you know, there's no doubt about it. James Carton has got them well organised, very good defensively, and of course the missing piece of the jigsaw was Marty Clark in the link role he's playing. Then, you know, at the back of your head you start to say, this is also the same Down team, pretty much the same Down team who got beaten by Wicklow in last year's championship, who stumbled over the line against Donegal up in Ballybofey, who were horrid and absolutely awful in the second half against Tyrone, you know. And you start to say, how good are they? And then I look at maybe the last 15 minutes against Kildare, and they were really hanging on by the threads, you know. So while they are the forum team, I could still pick a load of faults in them, you know.
Yeah, but one thing about it is, Joe, like, they've done this historically down through the years. Won All-Ireland in 1968. We didn't see them again for years and years, and they come along in 1991 and go the full distance.
There's a belief, you know, that whenever they've got a good team, they're ready to rock, they're ready to go, and people in Down believe that. You know, they believe it, and heritage does mean something. You know, your father passes it down to you, and you pass it down to your children, and it's in there deep. It's why whenever Kerry step out into Croke Park, that Cork seem to shrink in front of them. And it's why, you know, when Tyrone now and Ulster step out against opposition, good opposition like Monaghan, for example, they're beaten before the game starts.
Yes.
And so, you know, there's no doubt that confidence plays a part in it. But the big transformation this year for Down has been defence.
Yes.
You know, they were leaking scores. I mean, geez, Wicklow must have scored 16 or 17 points against them last year. You know, they've conceded roughly about 11 points a game through their run so far. And so that has been the big difference, because that's what breeds confidence in.
All right, now mention of a special event which took place a little earlier here at Croke Park. That was the introduction of the Down football team, which won the All-Ireland 50 years ago. And I suppose it is fitting that on the 50th anniversary of that historic event, Down also play in this year's final. But these are the heroes of yesteryear, the first Ulster team to take the Sam Maguire across the border. They did so by beating Kerry in the final 2-10 to 8 points. The Down goals coming from James McCartan and a Paddy Doherty penalty, leaving the way clear for Kevin Musson to lead his victorious team up the steps of the Hogan stand. Our Jubilee team is the Down football team of 1960.
It gives me great pleasure on behalf of everybody in Cumbernauld Gaskell, not alone here in Cork Park today, but throughout the world, to pay particular tribute to Micheál Muckenig, the one and only Kerry man. He has given distinguished service to our association over 7 decades. His voice is unique, the passion that he has brought to our games, and the wonderful way he has sold to our association in his commentaries throughout the world has been truly immense. Micheál, we salute you. Gora mille magat.
And there is the man who has seen Jubilee teams, All-Ireland winners, and so many big match occasions at Croke Park over the past 62 years. The Master of Radio Commentaries, Micheál O'Herty, who today is being honoured by the GAA for his sterling service to 2 Gaelic games in this country, and indeed on many foreign fields for over half a century. Well, Micheál McCartan, a famous name in Down football, an All-Ireland winner himself as a player, and now wee James is hoping to guide the county to their 6th All-Ireland title.
Well, I suppose if you're making a list of all the pros and the cons and the reasons to do it and the reasons not to do it, the reasons not to do it would have been a lot longer of a list. But I suppose whenever there's red and black in you and you get the opportunity, you just take it. We didn't know where we really stood. We felt with some good players in the county. We've always felt with good players within this county. And wondered, did we have enough?
Ball inside. It's a chance for Poland. It's the back of the net.
As the year went on, look, we've grown slowly. Obviously, probably the biggest leaps we've taken, you know, were the Sligo performance and the Kerry and the performances in Croke Park, because before that, I'm sure nobody was thinking of us for an Ireland final. Possibly the game against Sligo came at the right time for us, in the fact that you know, they were on a downer and it's hugely difficult. It's an unfair system, but that's a debate for another day. And we took advantage of that, but it gave our guys that wee bit of belief that they needed against a quality team, that you know, they could do it. Now, we got no credit for that game, and then we went in against Kerry and we got no credit for that game, and we went in against Kildare and we won that by accident as well. So I just hope the accidents keep occurring. Anybody that sees Down playing football well, the tactic's fairly simple. Try and get the ball into the scoring zone relatively quickly, and that's the way we've always played. I suppose I'm not sure if you do your stats how much kick passing we do and as opposed to hand passing, but we try and kick the ball if it is possible to kick it, and cut out, you know, these sweepers and extra men back if possible. If we can't, we'll look up and we'll give it short and then we'll reassess it again. But look, we try and get the ball into danger early, and that's a tactic probably most teams have. It is difficult coming up to the Ireland final. You can't really let your guard down and relax and enjoy it, because you're always, you know, checking yourself, because there's some box that you haven't covered or ticked, and there's some angle that you just can't let your guard down, and you can't get carried away with all the hype. The only people really are enjoying it are the supporters. You know, even the players, you tell them to relax and try and enjoy it, but you just wonder how much they're able to. I'm absolutely nervous from start to finish. I don't know, maybe it does show, but yeah, there's times the nerves are jangling through me. There's no doubt about that before the game, during the game, and certainly whenever Kildare about to take a 14-yard free kick and with 10 men along the line. Yeah, I was nervous that time too.
Hits off the crossbar.
Goodness, you know, it's something you do let yourself. I know Benny Coulter said in the press conference he's been dreaming about it for 10 years, getting to an Ireland final. Well, I haven't really been dreaming about managing Down in an Ireland final, but certainly over the last couple of weeks, the thought of being able to bring Sam Maguire back to the county, and you know, obviously every player and every part of the management team is a close family, but I suppose my own, obviously, you know, the history of GA in it would be nice to keep that history going, and yeah, like, I can't really express how much it would mean.
Those are the thoughts of the Down man. Moonaghan is hoping that it has a happier ending than it did back then. 3 years into the manager's post, the big prize has yet to be landed, but when Gerard Canning met him recently, well, he found him in a relaxed mood.
3 years seems a long time away now. Very conscious of where we were coming from. 2007, that particular All-Ireland, the final defeat was pretty crushing. You know, there was events after that, you know, a certain amount of damage done. This year, you know, it's probably been an upward curve again, in the sense of that, you know, we actually won the Division 1 title, and we're here now in an All-Ireland final, and, you know, it's where everyone wants to be.
Is there some psychological baggage that you'd be concerned about having lost to?
No, I think, look, you know, if you look at any of the sports, you know, there are occasions when you are obviously beaten by better teams, and you know, I firmly believe the best team wins all the time, and there was times maybe we weren't good enough. I think it shows great character in a team that can come back from those type of defeats, and you know, I think our lads have shown that in abundance. From our point of view, you know, experience is quite invaluable in these days of All-Ireland finals, and you know, there's certainly no doubt that, you know, in days gone by, particularly in relation to Kerry, they had an abundance of experience which, you know, played a major part. Hopefully the last few years that we've gained that experience, and we can bring that to bear on Sunday. We were never, as I saw it, the hot favourites that other people might have perceived us to be. I think, you know, maybe some people got carried away, be it media, pundits or whatever, but, you know, I would certainly have seen that it was always going to be a battle. All-Irelands are very hard won by, and, you know, some people had put us up there on that pedestal, and, you know, they're the same people that are probably now asking questions about us. People have set themselves up in a particular way to maybe counteract us, and you know, while some might say they would have done well in that, the reality is we still overcame those obstacles. It doesn't allow us to play with the same flair or whatever that people might like, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, you're saying to me about playing the best football last year. You know, the reality is I'd much prefer to be remembered for being the All-Ireland champions for last year. One thing I'd have learned again from my own playing days was, you know, there isn't much point in getting excited, you know, until 3:30, you know, from a player's perspective, and you're trying to tell them that. Plus, look, the reality is on occasions like this, you know, if guys are looking out to you on the sideline, then the show is over. You know, once they cross that white line, you know they need to be ready to do the job. Any guy you put out in front of 82,000 or 84, he's got to be able to stand up on his own 2 feet and make the big calls. It's all about getting the result at this stage.
That's the Cork manager, Conor Coonahan, and this is the Down team out onto the pitch here at Croke Park for their big day, taking part in the All-Ireland football final of 2010. And you know, the beginning of the year and beginning of the season, people say, who do you think is going to win this year's All-Ireland? And we all make our predictions and we try and do the best of it, but who would have said that Down were going to be in the All-Ireland final this year? Well, they obviously believed in themselves, beaten earlier in the championship by Tyrone, but have bounced back big time. And here is the colour all the way down from the morn for this big final. And I suppose we'll know, gentlemen, in a few minutes' time, in a little over 20 minutes, as to whether this belief that we have, that they have the belief, will actually stand up to the pressure.
Yeah, well, the first rule of war, I think, is that, you know, in the first skirmish, all the planning that was made in advance goes out the window, and players in a big game like this will be the same thing. They'll have plotted and planned for weeks and weeks on end, and once the players go on the field, it takes a life of its own.
Yeah.
And in that sort of scenario, always the cream comes to the top and the brilliant players stand out. And that's why over the last 10 years we've had Gooch and Peter Canavan and Sean Kavanagh and players like that, Darragh O'Shea, who dominate finals. It will be the same today. Cork need a hero, and they're searching for him for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they haven't found him yet in the big day in Croke Park. Maybe this is the day for Paul Kerrigan or Daniel Goulding or Paddy Kelly to become the hero and steer Cork home, because it would look, if you're looking at the flair players, that Down have Benny Coulter, Danny Hughes, and of course Marty Clark. So it's going to be a test. Who's going to be the star? Who's going to guide his team home?
You don't give any credence at all to the way the team sets up, like the system or the pattern of play or anything like that. You think that's irrelevant?
Well, you
know what I mean?
No, I do. But Pat made the comment earlier that he thought Cork were a bit more composed this year. That'd be the last word I used with Cork.
I said it in the last 15, 20 minutes against Dublin. It was the first time in vital games that they did show composure, that they did show leadership in that last 20 minutes.
But I think that it was purely by chance that they won that game. But the other thing about it is, you make the point that sort of Cork are a bit disorganised. Now, I don't agree with that either. You can't get to All-Ireland finals year after year and beat all the teams, bar Kerry, without having a certain plan, a certain organisation. So it's somewhere between the two.
I think that they're a very powerful team. They're brilliant at winning the ball and recycling the ball and all of that. But the difficulty is, it was highlighted against the Dubs that whenever you play against that sort of organised defence, you need to know specifically what it is you're doing, and which is why they floundered so badly against the Dubs. And I suppose the difference between Dublin and Down is that Down have a greater variety of scorers and a greater variety of skills in their team. And you know, when you couple that with the systematic way that they've been playing, you know, you think that it's going to be even more difficult for Cork today. You make this point about heroes, but you know, magical performances don't just materialise.
All right, lads, let's go down pitch side to find out who Marty Morrissey has with him right now.
Thank you very much, Michael. I've been to both dressing rooms before they emerged onto the pitch. No changes on the Down team, but I've been told 99.99 Graham Canty will not start this All-Ireland final, and the man that will take his place is John Miskela. Well, I'm joined by two players who played against each other, marked each other in the All-Ireland semi-final of 1994, Niall Cahalan and Mickey Linden. Fond memories of that match, I believe, Niall, for you.
I didn't get this close to him, I can assure you that day. You know, it was a torturous outing for me, Marty, I assure you. You know, probably the beginning and the end.
Niall, talk to me about the absence of Graham Canty. The lads in the studio with Mike were talking about looking for a hero. Yeah. Graham Canty has been a hero in the past.
Yeah, Graham Canty, as I have said in the past over the last decade, has been certainly the leading light in Cork football. Is he going to be a loss? Yes, there's no doubt about it. But I also think that it isn't in the last 2 hours or in the last 24 hours that Cork have decided that Graham Canty is out. You know what I mean? I think that when I see the team named during the week, I just felt there was no way.
Will it upset the balance?
I would say not, because I think they've planned without it before now.
Mickey Linden, obviously this has been an incredible journey led by James McCartan, but Ambrose Rogers, it looks like he's able to play if required, I've been told. How true is that, or how accurate is that?
I know he played for 35 minutes in a training game last weekend and played fairly well in it, but whether he's able to come up to the speed and the intensity of All Ireland's final, it's very doubtful at this stage. If things were going very well in the last 10 minutes or something, there might be a chance of him introduced, but I can't really see him introduced apart from that. But let's see how it goes. First of all, you know, it's nice to see that he's out there anyway. He led the team out.
And just a very quick comment from both of you. They talk about Cork's squad. You know, you have Nicholas Murphy, Declan, Derek Kavanagh to be introduced. Is that a fear and apprehension and down too many big guns?
Yeah, well, I would have said some of those fellas maybe we should have started the team. You know, I'd have feared Nicholas Murphy on the team rather than the midfield they have at the minute, but I think our midfield is going to compete very well today. I don't see any reason why Peter Fitzpatrick and Callum King can't break 50-50 or even better in that sector. And obviously the power and strength of the Cork half-back line coming through, that would worry me probably a wee bit more than their midfield.
Very briefly, because we're running out of time, Cork to win this, considering that squad that you've mentioned to me in the past?
I would think, yes, if we're within any 2 or 3 points of down with 20 minutes to go, I think game, set and match.
Okay, Mickey Linden, Niall Callahan, thank you very much for joining us. And indeed, we send our best wishes to your dad. This is his first All-Ireland final. That's John Callahan down in Castlehaven in West Cork. Hope you enjoyed the All-Ireland final. Let's get the scene set from our big match commentator, Ger Canning.
Thanks very much indeed, Marty. You know, when these...
This year they've played too often back in defence and contributing little in attack.
Yeah, no, I'm more on the point that the full forward line tends to be starved of good possession. They don't get the ball in dangerous positions. I mean, you watch Down, for example, or even the Dubs the last day. You know, in spite of the fact that they were very reliant on Brogan, the number of near shaves that Cork had where a ball was given in and it could have been in the net. You know, players were left one-on-one against their man, whereas up the other end, Cork were facing a wall of blue jerseys.
What they need to do is kick the ball long, but not just straight up and down the field. They need to use the diagonal ball. And they have big forwards who will have a height advantage over some of their markers, and the ball is going to be dry. The sun is out here now. It's time to use the high ball in.
I just noticed a second ago there, Pat Spillane, Graham Canty putting in his gum shield. Now, you don't need the gum shield if you're sitting up in the stand, or is that just habit?
I don't know, isn't it crazy, Michael? I just can't buy into this, will he, won't he, whatever like that. You know, like I said, I'm from the old school where you say, this is the 15 we're starting with. No gimmicks, no whatever like that. Beat us if you can. I
do remember Steve Davis chalking his cue after being beaten in the World Snooker Championship by Dennis Taylor.
So it was an involuntary spasm.
Well, they'll want Canty out there, I suppose.
Look, he provides leadership.
He's the captain. He'll probably be out there to meet the president, things like that. If he starts, it'll be a shock, because if there's 10 minutes in Canty, it would be better 10 minutes at the end rather than at the start.
Yeah, okay. The guest of honour, as usual, here at Croke Park for
speed. They're playing along the Tyrone lines. You know, they've worked very hard at getting it right this year. They've improved from game to game. It's clearly a thinking sideline. They're a very happy team. That's why you see them playing in the groove. Zippy, you know, a bit of the oil electrifying sort of atmosphere about them. And I think they'll win the game today, barring unforeseen events.
Well, I think the definition of stupidity is if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, and that's why I think that Cork can't do the same as they've been doing in a lot of games this year with their hand passing. I expect a different approach. I think they have power and pace. They've been around a long time. They have the experience. They were brilliant early in the year when they won the league. If they're able to reproduce that sort of form, I think they'll win.
What you did say about the minor match, where the minor Cork players changed their tactics a bit. You can't do the same thing all year and then expect to change it for one day.
Well, they've had a month, and I'm sure when they went back into training on the Tuesday night after they were fortuitous winners over Dublin, they said, we're going to change our style of play and we're going to let the ball in high.
And the high ball will trouble Down, there's no doubt about that.
There's a lot to recommend and to tip Down, because they are the foreign team. But I just think if Cork can play the game more direct, play the game at pace, put the Down full back line under pressure, I think they are vulnerable. And on top of that, Cork have the experience and the subs bench to tip them over the line. I think Cork are going to win it.
Well, fortunately, the gods are shining on Croke Park.
Well, they'll be moving and switching, and the marking alignment's going to be interesting as well, just to see who's picking up whom.
Well, actually, Owen Cadigan, I think, has been earmarked to take up Marty Clark at the moment. Whether that will result with Clark comes out the field is another thing.
That's the big prize, Sam Maguire, the most famous trophy in Irish sport. David Goldrick from Meath gets the final underway, and straight away it's Cork who tried to mount their first attack. Down there as far as Donnacha O'Connor, releasing it to Alan O'Connor, his namesake, and he's blazed it to the left, and he's missed the opening opportunity. That was a good chance, a little bit more composure required.
Well, his early moments, and again, lovely little layoff, great support running at a good angle, but snatched at the shot. He had much more room actually in front of him had he gone on another bit.
Well, they had 13 wides in their semi-final, and 9 of those in the first half against Dublin. Brendan McVeigh from Onriocht, kicking this one to the centre of the field. O'Connor rising up for it again and taking it down magnificently. Held there by Paddy Kissan, winning the free kick as he was being fouled. Straight away into the inside forwards it goes towards Sheehan, broken down to Donnacha O'Connor, then back to Sheehan, goal chance, well saved, and it's put in the back. No, it's not. Somehow it stays out. Great defending by Down, and a missed opportunity, a gilt-edge opportunity for Cork to snatch the goal there. There should be a goal and a point up at this stage. Still no score. Miskala driving it back once more, down under ferocious pressure. Pa Kelly now trying to make something out of Cork's third attack, and he's held, and it's got to be a free in. So they have a chance of getting a point. By now there should be 4 points up, but the goalkeeper Brendan McVeigh denied Cork. Just watch it again.
Yeah, Kieran Sheehan this time, good awareness on his part. No, I think he went for the shot first. Great save by McVeigh, and again a good follow-up by Daniel McCartan to take the ball off the line. Cork should have scored a goal.
Daniel Goulding eventually raises the Cork cheers with his first point of this match. So Cork go in front, 3 attacks, finally producing something. Here it was again, this was the save. Now watch the follow-up, somehow taken off that line. Great defending there by Dan McCartan.
Certainly was great anticipation by Dan McCartan that time, but that's twice that the down full back line has been ripped to shreds in the first couple of minutes.
The 2 down cornerbacks, by the way, have switched their positions. Goulding's been picked up by Dan McCartan, so he's playing left corner back. Again, a kick out, one in the middle of the park by Cork, and Aidan Walsh. Down held again by Donnacha O'Connor. He's gone 45 metres out from the target. Paul Kerrigan pursued by Kevin McKernan. It's Old Cork in the opening minutes. Down get the possession back, however, through McKernan's persistence. Now Marty Clark, as anticipated, has gone way out the field there. Wins the free kick. Linking up here with Calum King. Here's Danny Hughes. He's had a great season so far, Danny Hughes. Again, he sets off. Now Benny Coulter. Shields being the one who was marking Benny Coulter. Back once again to Danny Hughes, trying to get a scoring opportunity for one of his colleagues. It's Coulter who has a go. He's got to drop to the left, and he's put the ball wide. Down's first attack of the match.
That time again, they're going to have more joy, I think, by going down the flanks. Okay, the end result that time was very poor, but costly today.
First kick out of the match then for Alan Quirk. It'll be interesting to see how Cork do on their own kick-outs now. He's gone towards the wings, and it's won there by Peter Fitzpatrick, beating his opposite number Alan O'Connor to it. Taken by Mark Poland. Rolled up towards John Clark. All will be expected of John Clark today to try and provide a menacing figure in front of the Cork full back line. They need a presence in there. Kerrigan back once again here. Miskala feeding it back towards the Nemo Rangers player. Out quickly for it there was Dan McCartan. Here's Kevin McKernan. Again, it's Mark Poland. Coulter. Shields trying to get tight. Out once again came McComiskey. Back towards Marty Clark. Final shot by Danny Hughes. And Danny Hughes puts this one over the bar. First point of the match for Down. And that will settle down this Down challenge very, very, very much. They needed a score here, and it is Danny Hughes who produces it for them.
Yeah, and a lovely bit of patient build up that time. Clark's vision, though, was exemplary.
Great catch again by Aidan Walsh. If there were a mark in the game, that was it. Fouled anyway, so he's leaving it here for Paudie Cassan to take the return. Back out towards the Kanturk man once again, the 20-year-old. Now he's got a bit of latitude here. Kieran Sheehan taking it in, trying to make progress. He does well. Oh, he's gone well ahead and he loses his control and lost his way. And Down got a lot of players back, and the ball was handled on the ground in the end by Sheehan, and it's a free out. That should have been another scoring opportunity for Cork. They've spurned at least 3 so far.
Yeah, but that's one of the problems actually about the surface today. It has rained very heavily throughout the minor game and all morning. The surface is still very wet, and to hop the ball is a disaster really for players. Sheehan should have kept that ball in hand and got for his point.
From McVeigh's free for Down. Good running by Danny Hughes. But he's got a lot of work to do from a deep position here. Oh, Declan Rooney slipped. Doesn't come back to a Down player. Comes to Pa Kelly instead. Kelly, who engineered the free from which Cork got their only points so far. Back with Mark Poland. Very industrious, very hard-working man on the 40. Well, notionally anyway. From Rooney. Forward here again as far as Peter Fitzpatrick. And the 22-year-old fouled, leaving the free kick to Mark Poland. Marty Clark comes running, takes his man with him. On that occasion it was Noel O'Leary who came out. Now Benny Coulter. Clever ball. McComiskey trying to get in on the blind side of the defender was Ray Carey. Now trying to make an angle, going this way and that. Onto his right. It's a tricky angle, just a little bit too acute on this occasion. Good young player. Paul McComiskey scored a goal and 3 here back in the 2005 minor final, I remember. Didn't get man of the match that day when they beat Mayo. It was Marty Clark got that. But he got his All-Ireland minor medal. Looking for a senior this afternoon with 7 minutes gone and the game level at a point apiece. Should be Down's possession. Colin King again releasing it quickly to Mark Poland. The big men in the middle just win possession, lay it off smartly. It's a simple and effective philosophy. Benny Coulter against Shields. Again it goes left, and again
you know, Monica, you don't associate with Noel O'Leary,
because Clark is a central figure in everything that Down have been doing this year. Only 22 years of age, great football brain. Back from Collingwood, who play next weekend, by the way, in the grand final in Australia. That's won by Cork, and it's Shields from the knockdown. Quick look up now. Difficult one there for Donnacha O'Connor. One instead by Dan Gordon. Back out here as far as Poland again. Slipping it out as far as Conor Garvey. Setting it off, showing too much of that. In came Pa Kelly, but again there's an opportunity to run at the Cork defence. Declan Rooney this time recycling it back as far as Damien Rafferty, the Newry Shamrocks player, very experienced man. Fitzpatrick laying it in here, broken down on as far as Paul McComiskey. Scoring chance for McComiskey. Lovely economical style. His first point. And Down go in front in the All-Ireland final after 9 minutes.
Yes, that's a beautifully worked score again. McComiskey got on the end of a very good move that time. Leapfrogged over one player, shot a very good score, but the Down ability to get the ball down the wings at the moment is causing Cork trouble.
And credit John Clark that time for knocking it down for McComiskey. Did well. Now what can Cork do in the counter-attack? They can lay it back to Pa Kelly from Donnacha O'Connor. Here's John Miskela. Worst kept secret, I think, in Gaelic games was that Miskela was going to start this match and that Graham Canty was not, because Cork in particular. McVeigh's kick out reaches Marty Clark, quickly laid off. This is beautiful. Hughes jinking, staying balanced, staying in control, but finishing very poorly.
Well run by Down again. Danny Hughes that time had much more time than he realised. He should have finished that off with a score.
The wides mounting up for Down as Owen Cadigan bursts forward. First start for him in the championship in football. Goes via Sheehan as far as Noel O'Leary. Back here to Paul Kerrigan.
Well, I think rather than shots like that, they need to work the ball in quicker, and maybe the full forwards and getting it out to half forwards coming through in the burst.
Brenda McVeigh. Again, the battle for supremacy in the middle of the park, claimed brilliantly by Alan O'Connor. Back to Michael Shields, today's on-field captain. Paul Kerrigan now, who had that miss, taking off past Kevin McKernan. This is good by Kerrigan, and he's won a free in. So a chance for Cork to draw level. Their only point, of course, coming from the boot of Daniel Goulding from a free kick. This was good pace, good penetration by Paul Kerrigan, drawing the foul. So once again, Daniel Goulding ready to hit this. He's on 7 goals and 77 points so far, which is 98 points in all. And he's put this one over, so it's 99 for his tally, and Cork draw level.
Yeah, both teams have settled very well into the game. I think Down in particular, for a team that are in the first All-Ireland since 1994, are doing very, very well. I know it's new players and all of that, but they're very much at home on the occasion today. They're showing no inhibitions whatsoever. They're full of confidence and playing some very good football.
And they have this unbeaten record in finals that's been much spoken about, of course. 5 final appearances, 5 final victories. Clark pushed by Noel O'Leary. That's that curious matchup, and the referee will bring the ball forward 13 metres because Cork are deemed not to have been that distance from the ball, but I think they're complaining that the free was hit into the back of a Cork player as he was walking away from it. Just have a look at this again. Did they have their backs to it? Yeah, you see Noel O'Leary was walking away from it, and it hit him in the back.
Yeah, I just get the feeling actually the referee might have actually been moving it forward before that. Maybe there was some dissent on the part of the Cork team.
It's quite possible. Marty Clark then looking for his first point of this match and to put his team back in front again. From about 43 metres out, it's an easy enough kick for him by his high standards. And Down lead by 3 points to 2. Well, it's a Down team beaten by Tyrone earlier on in the championship, in the Ulster Championship at that, but they learned an awful lot as a
call of Daniel McCartan from suspension. He was sent off in the League 2 division final here against Armagh, but he has tightened things up immensely at the back.
Alan Quirk slips as he kicks this one out, and again it is Down who are winning the Cork kick-outs and cleverly setting up a chance here. John Clark, his 4th time to play in Croke Park this season, and he scored eventually. Didn't score in the Division 2 League final or in the other championship matches here, but he's got a point in the all-important All-Ireland final, and Down lead by double scores, 4 points to 2. It was very much down to the individual skill of John Clark, older brother of Marty.
Yeah, and I think there was an unfortunate slip on the part of a Cork defender at that time, which made it that little bit easier. But Cork are in the middle of the field, they're not getting the possession that I expected them to get.
Well, Cork's only scored so far 2 pointed frees. Maybe it's that missed goal opportunity in the opening minutes that has unsettled them somewhat for starters, but now they're very much rattled and riled by the persistence of Down and the way in which Down are harassing them and tackling and pressurising them and forcing them into making errors. Cadigan this time.
Well, that typifies the Down attitude today. They're full of spirit, full of verve, and again going for everything. But Cork will be very disappointed, as I said, that their big players around the middle of the park are not winning kickouts, and I would feel myself that Alan Quirk needs to drive the ball out long rather than placing it to the wings, because I think around the middle they have a decided height advantage.
Well, this should be absolutely ideal for Marty Clark, kicking with the left boot, curling it in, no real trouble, over the bar, and another for Down. And everybody in the full forward line has now scored, 4 points between them. That's good going. As you say, they have settled. Nothing to do with this first time out in an All-Ireland final. It hasn't worried them one little bit. They always say that when Down get to a final, they bring a certain swagger, a certain confidence with them, and that's been demonstrated out there right now. By comparison, Cork full of effort, but there's a degree of hesitation as well. and maybe just looking for a break or two. Aidan Walsh kicked it poorly. Out came Dan Gordon. Very much a stopgap fullback. Preferred to be playing in midfield, I'm sure. Benny Coulter, he'll play anywhere. Left half forward at this stage. Holding it, waiting for Kevin McKernan to come onto. Looking to add to the All-Ireland medal his dad got here back in '91, as that's kicked by Peter Fitzpatrick, and he's missed the opportunity.
Because once more, I think it was Daniel Hughes got loose from his marker. Fitzpatrick coming up on the overlap, got the opportunity, but shot a bad wide. Downer really on top or on the middle of the park at the moment.
Cork looking to try and win this kick out, and they just might get the break this time. It's Aidan Walsh who gets away. Nicely forward here by John Miskela. Miskela looking to shoot himself. It's going to drop short. Easy one for Brendan McVeigh to take. Held onto by Kevin McKernan. Slipping it outside to Peter Fitzpatrick. And the midfielder just waits. There's no pressure on him. Great ball. Brilliant ball. Poland gets free. Gets inside the marker. Gets inside Kissan. Now, or sorry, Miskela rather. Back once again towards McComiskey. Looking to shoot under pressure, and he's put it over the bar, and it's a great start to this match for Down. They weathered the early pressure against Cork. They got lucky with the goal that Cork might have scored. They've come back confidently, and they're all scoring freely, and they're looking very, very confident. Look at this for a pass. It was absolutely brilliant. Perfect delivery. You could see Miskela, who had been up the other end, chasing back after it.
Yeah, the foot passing is excellent. Peter Fitzpatrick that time it was who executed, but the movement I think at the moment of the down forward line is just outstanding. It's causing huge problems for the Cork defence. They're finding it very difficult to track their markers. On top of that, the likes of Pierce O'Neill, who's been spoken to at the moment, hasn't touched the ball yet, hasn't really got into it from the first moment. And they need leaders at the moment. They seem to be diffident, they seem to be lacking in confidence and inhibited, and that surprises me about a team who's been here a number of occasions over the last couple of years.
Well, Cork's record in All-Ireland finals is rather abysmal. This is their 25th time to play in an All-Ireland final. They've won only 6 so far of the previous 24 finals. I think if there were a building firm, they'd probably be in Nama at this stage. That's kicked out into the middle, and it's fisted back by Peter Fitzpatrick. Here comes John Miskela, pursued by Mark Poland. Fouled. Free kick. The big players, as you say, Martin, have got to get into this game for Cork if they're to put in a sustained challenge. That's prodded forward by Kieran Sheehan, trying to get the better there of his marker, who's Rafferty. Sheehan still, everybody claiming it, and the linesman on this near side saying that's going to be a line ball to Down, playing in the change strip.
Yes, that's a good call actually by the linesman, but equally so it's a second good call because I think Daniel McCartan that time took the ball from inside the boundary line, so it's a throw up 13 metres from the sideline.
Let's just have a look at this again here.
Yes, it came off Kieran Sheehan, so the first call is right, and subsequent call was correct also by the linesman. Well done.
So this throw 13 metres in from the near sideline, and that time the referee seems to indict Pierce O'Neill. And Down have the possession, and they can start again. That's a poor kick away by Brendan McVeigh. Should have been taken by Shields, but he did enough on it anyway to get it to Miskela. Now Goulding. Held on to here by Aidan Walsh, but it's 50 metres out from the target. A little bit of movement ahead here from Paul Kerrigan, but really into the corner. And there's a lot of work to do from here just to try and create a scoring chance. And Cork, as you can see, are 4 points behind. Here's Pádraig Kissan. Great pressure from Down. Excellent defensive work. They're working as a unit, working as a team. Brilliant play. Declan Rooney feeding it out here as far as Danny Hughes. Points so far for the 28-year-old from Saville. Slipped back in here to Poland. Everything seems to go through him. Marty Clark playing further forward than I've seen in recent championship matches. He's tended to play very, very deep on occasions, but he's a real threat, a real menace for Cork. Or he was looking there for Paul McComiskey, but it was well defended by Ray Carey. That needed his intervention. Goalkeeper trying to set up Pádraig Kissan here, trying to urge him to carry it forward. Cork go lateral, and that time Miskela fouled by McComiskey, and Cork have the opportunity with Ray Carey here, linking up with Alan O'Connor. Waiting for movement, and it's coming back again. Cork static in that inside forward line. need more people creating more of a menace in there, and Down are comfortably able to handle all of the threats so far presented.
Yes, Down are first to every ball at the moment. The likes of, for example, Donnacha O'Connor hasn't got into the game at all. He seems strangely subdued, not going hard for it, and it's very untypical.
Here's Pearse O'Neill playing it back here again. This shot has gone to the left and this one has gone wide, and it's a wasted opportunity, and certainly the management team must be very, very displeased with what they've seen so far. This was fed back out here as far as Paul Kerrigan. That's the one that went astray there, and that's yet another wide for Cork. That is their fourth so far.
Yeah, but you must credit the pressure that the Down defence are putting on the Cork attackers. They're not giving them any room. The pressure on the middle of the field is immense, and at the moment Down seems so comfortable by comparison with Cork.
10 minutes since Cork scored, and they've now restructured their forward line, and Sheehan has now gone back to right half forward. Paul Kerrigan's gone back to top of the left. It's as they were programmed, in other words. So another attack. Down have had their spell of dominance. Cork now look for scores from Pa Kelly's pass. O'Connor has lost it. That's great defending again. Good, simple and effective defending, that time by Rooney, just slipping in the right hand, dispossessing the forward, doing everything right so far. Peter Fitzpatrick. That's too long, that's too ambitious, and it's easy for Cadogan to come, or should have been. Manages to get it back as far as Miskela. Now Aidan Walsh, about to be challenged, overhits the pass. An elementary mistake, and Down will take the opportunity now once again, but McComiskey trying to set up. Coulter has moved inside, this time won by Shields, and Cork have it back again. That's Owen Cadogan, hurler come footballer. Kerrigan just trying to steal a march on Damien Rafferty, and the referee saw what was going on and saw the push on the Newry Shamrocks player. Free to Down.
Yeah, dare I say it, Ger, but at the moment I think Cork look like a team that are overtrained. They look very tired, they look very slow going to the ball, devoid of energy, whereas Down are full of verve, full of imagination, managing to get their big players into the game. Just at the moment the leadership is absent from the Cork team that I would have expected to be manifest at this stage.
And Paul Kerrigan has got himself a yellow card, one foul too many, I'm afraid, from his point of view, and David Coldrick from Meath has showed him the card. Down goes short from the free kick. Conor Garvey slipping it ahead to McKernan. Remember, he got those two tremendous points against Kildare in the semi-final. That pass was just too far ahead of him. So line ball to Cork. Cork crowd getting a bit edgy. Only 2 points for them so far, both of them from free kicks. There's a Down player on the ground. That's Conor Garvey. And the referee, I think, not buying what Garvey was obviously intimating, that he was being fouled, so he told him get up, and Garvey did. Carey down as far as Pearse O'Neill, back once again to the man who took that sideline kick. Now Kissan. Two wing backs have been pinned back here, really, Noel O'Leary and Kissan. Now let's see what the forwards can do with this one as O'Connor tries to break it. Pearse O'Neill slips out the right leg. It comes eventually to Pa Kelly, who's been in very good form this year. And they go back to the middle of the park. Now look for an opening. Miskela had one shot that dropped short earlier on, and this one has
forehand and come up with a big performance today. So far it's missing.
Scoring chances so far, you can see Down creating 3 more than Cork. And they've got a free kick from their own 65-metre line. Slipping it out here to Danny Hughes. Now what can he do? 2 Cork men out there to challenge, to try and take it from him. The Cork team beaten in the All-Ireland final by Kerry in 2007, beaten again in 2009. That's a lovely pass back to Hughes. Scoring chance here, might even be a goal chance. Oh, it's up and it's over the bar. Danny Hughes. Well, he seems to be summing up his options there as he was coming forward into the angle, and the Down fans happy enough that he took the point eventually. Fisted it over just for a moment. I think they probably thought it was going to drop short and into the net, and it wouldn't have counted.
It was so simple though, a lovely bit of slick movement by a nippy player who's been outstanding all year, thinking quicker than Cork are at the moment. Down are got the opportunity and took it probably took the percentages. He had Clark open for a goal, possibly by their legacy of never been beaten in an All-Ireland final, but there's no doubt about it, they're way less fearful today than Cork are. Cork are hamstrung at the moment with fear right throughout their team.
Alan Quirk kicking it, and there was some pushing this time by a down defender, and it's Caleb King. So the free kick taken. King bends his back, couldn't take it the first time, needs a little support. Oop, they fumbled it there, but they were lucky enough to get it back, and Benny Coulter feeds it in. Marty Clark pushed from behind by Noel O'Leary. And Noel O'Leary is certainly having his hands full in this matchup with Marty Clark. As you said earlier, Martin, it wasn't the matchup we were anticipating. Here's John Clark, 5 years older than his brother, back towards McComiskey. John Clark, having scored earlier on, having felt confident, lets it in. Alan Quirk does well, gets his fist to it, it goes behind, and it's the game's first 45. Well, he had to come out that time, and you can see by the body language there, Alan Quirk isn't one bit pleased with himself. The 33-year-old came out here, was left isolated, had to concede the 45, but there's not a great deal happening in front of him.
No, there's not a great deal happening, but I think what's happening with Benny Coulter at the moment is that he may have jarred his knee during that particular event, and I'd say he'd be requiring treatment. Just hope from a down point of view it isn't serious.
Yeah, he'd be a huge loss, just as Graham Canty is a huge loss for Cork. They were hoping that they might be able to get some minutes out of Graham Canty. They're going to need him, just as Down certainly need Benny Coulter. Back on his feet anyway. Marty Clark to take the resultant 45. He scored 2 points from frees already. Drills this one, but hits it to the right. Paudie Cassan pinned back. Alan Quirk now. Disappointing final so far for neutrals, and certainly for the Cork fans who've travelled here in big numbers, but everything going right for Down. Can they keep it going? Kerrigan is fouled by Damien Rafferty. Free into Cork. Cork's last score was in the 12th minute, so we've gone a good 17-18 minutes, and 2 frees. Their only return so far, a rather miserable return from a first half where they haven't really played as they are able to, but credit Down, they didn't leave them. Donnacha O'Connor is going to take this. Well, he needs a score just to try and get his confidence going. Cork need a score as well just to give them a boost. And this curls, but yes, it curls just inside. Just about made it. A point for Cork then, cutting into the deficit, and it's 7 points to 3. All of Cork's scores from frees.
Yeah, and beautifully struck. Just came in at the last minute, and that'll do Donnacha O'Connor a lot of good, because he's been very quiet up to now and hasn't been able to break loose from the clutches of Dan Gordon, who's playing him very cleverly.
But 5 minutes to go to the break. So far, so good for Down, but again, from their own kick out, it's Cork who are winning those. It's rather a strange situation, because Down have been doing well on the Cork kick-outs. Miskela laying it in towards O'Connor, released to Pierce O'Neill. Again, look at the number of Down players who close in and back out towards Goulding. Setting his foot through this and putting it over the bar. His 3rd point, his 100th in the championship. More importantly today, however, Cork's first point from play comes at the 32nd minute, would you believe? And it's put 3 between them. And even though Cork haven't played at all in this first half, as they're usually able to, they're back in the game with 2 in a row.
Very true, Ger. That's the amazing thing about it. Down have been completely in the ascendancy, but yet in the scoreboard there's only a miserable 3 points between them.
And Miskela now is beginning to win a lot of ball there around the half-back line. Distribution here just a little poor, however. Over-ambitious hit to Paul Kerrigan. Kerrigan, the only player with a yellow card against his name in the match. Line ball kicked in as far as Marty Clark. Again, O'Leary chases after him, but really he's just chasing and trying to limit his effectiveness, not really winning an awful lot of ball against Marty Clark. Rooney back as far as Rafferty, slipped back into Poland. They hold, nothing silly, and then they wait for a decent run forward, and there are players up there like Danny Hughes who can get on the ball and get out ahead of the defender, look smart, release it back towards Kevin McKernan. big ambitious one in. Benny's ready to jump for it. He's got it as well. And down he goes, and it's going to be a free in. Magnificent play by Benny Coulter, the 28-year-old from Mayo Bridge. Well, he's tormented so many backlines in the past. Good to see him here in an All-Ireland final, getting his chance. He's one of those players, I feel, had he been around in the 90s, he'd have an All-Ireland medal to his name at this stage.
That was a majestic piece of fielding that time. It reminded me of a photograph I saw in yesterday's paper with, was it Shawnee Walsh and Brian Mullins going up for a ball. That was wonderful to witness. Great catch, and the reward now is an opportunity for Marty Clark.
And Marty Clark puts it over. 3 points, all of them coming from frees after the mercurial Benny Coulter won it in the air and was fouled, and it's 8 points to 4. 34 minutes into the All-Ireland final, the 121st. Alan Quirk just looking around, summing up to see where can he kick this one and where can Cork try and retain the possession. Cork's winning kickouts has come in the main from the down kickouts. This time they win their own. Pierce O'Neill, Paddy Kassan, Aidan Walsh. Well, Cork in the second half of their matches have brought on their big subs. They brought on the Nicholas Murphys and the Colm O'Neills and Derek Kavanagh to try and turn the game, and that may well be in the mind of the managers, I would imagine, as we head towards half-time. Meanwhile, Donnacha O'Connor, who scored from a free, has scored now from play. He wheeled around brilliantly that time and makes it 8 points to 5, and Cyril Kavanagh there, the Mexican fan, is delighted with that one. Not so pleased James McCartan, who saw his man there, his fullback Dan Gordon, allow Donnacha O'Connor get too much room, and Donnacha O'Connor is now pumped up and full of confidence.
But that passivity you saw earlier from O'Connor now has been replaced with a lovely piece of dynamism that time. That was a wonderful score by Donnacha O'Connor.
The game may be turning around. It was all down for a long, long time. And the question I was asking Conor Coonahan last week in the interview was, you know, the mental baggage of having lost 2 finals, is it there? 1 minute of added time as Cadogan goes back, came on as a substitute last year in the football final. Miskell has swung around, free kick to Cork, down leading as we're into additional time. Here's Kieran Sheehan setting off, youngest player in today's final, down towards Paul Kerrigan, trying to take on Damien Rafferty, succeeding, coming in from the angle, ball running away from him, and that's gone for a 45. Probably about as much as he could have done, because he had got into such an acute angle there. I don't think it's sufficient latitude to try and pull it back for Donnacha O'Connor. That was probably in his mind. Knew he couldn't beat the goalkeeper from such a tight angle, but here he is from the reverse angle here, and the keeper did well, put out his right hand and decided, let's see what happens from the 45.
He certainly did do very well, because that was a wonderful piece of play by I think both players actually, by Paul Kerrigan in trying to get in along the end line, but disciplined tackling by Damien Rafferty. But credit also Brendan McVeigh for his positioning. That
because Donnacha O'Connor would probably have pounced. This might be the last kick of the first half. Daniel Goulding drops it, and it's dropped into the hands of a down defender, Dan Gordon, as the referee calls for the ball, blows for half-time. Well, Cork started well and had opportunities, didn't take them, but Down came back strongly and played all or nearly all of the good football in the first half. The Down fans will be happy. Paul Kerrigan trotting off at half-time here, didn't score. Cork came back with a couple of scores, but it took them a long, long time to get their first from play. Down will be the happier, but there are only 3 points between the teams as they come in, and the Down management team there with McCartan and his selectors considering what they'll do, because at half-time it's Down 8 points, Cork 5 points. Michael.
And thank you for the moment to Ger Canning and Martin Carney. Back here in our Croke Park studio, we have Joe Brawley, Colin O'Rourke and Pat Spillane. Colin, might get a quick comment from you before the break.
Well, it's been a very enjoyable half of football, and I think Down have played the better football. Cork have had plenty of possession, but they seem to be the same as they have been all year. They don't seem to know where they're going, a bit lacking in method. Down a much slicker team, and a bit strange the marking arrangements that Cork have, but a very, very good game. But Cork have come back into it and it's still up for grabs.
It started off in a great welter of excitement.
Yeah, well, Cork should have been a goal and a point up in inside the first minute, which would have settled a team that are obviously a bit lacking in confidence, and they retreated into their shell a little bit, and Down just came out and expressed themselves and played some beautiful open football.
Yeah, OK, we're going to take a short break. Further reflection on that first half in just a few minutes. Now, also here on the Sunday Game, there's a chance for you to win a fantastic prize, and we have details coming up a little bit later on. Joe Brolly, Colin Moore and Pat Spillane here in our studio. Pat, what did you think of that first half?
Enjoyable enough. I mean, most of the football was played by the team in the yellow jerseys. You know, their movement, their foot passing, their tackling. You know, it boils down to the thing that we were talking about before the game: self-belief and self-doubt. Down are playing with self-belief, and once Cork missed those couple of chances, you could see that fear and lack of confidence permeate through their play. And you know, they were clueless and inept in that first half. They didn't have leadership. Their decision making was poor, wrong options. Their kicking, both foot passing, whatever like that. And there's no leader there. And you can talk about sentiment and say, geez, they deserve an All Ireland. But you know, Michael, All Irelands are earned. You've got to make it work. And they look like a team that are waiting for things to happen rather than making things happen.
Sure. You're right, Pat, but I think the reason for that is because they're not that sure what their rules are. They're not that sure how to go about it. With Down, there's precision. You know, there's that confidence that comes from knowing what it is you're supposed to be trying to achieve. And so, you know, Down, when they're spearheading attacks, are really spearheading. I mean, an amazing statistic in the game, and I think what's happened has been entirely predictable. Cork have won 17 kickouts to Down 6. And they should be winning the game by 7 or 8 points. But in truth, they just look as though they're running through quicksand.
A nice example of the contrast column in it. A Cork attack that ended up in a down point.
Yeah, well, Cork have rampaged through the middle with the likes of Miskela has gone through. But the finished product has been dreadful. Like Alan O'Connor was through in the first minute. And, you know, the worst thing about Cork is the wrong fellas are shooting. Like Miskela should be drawing a man and giving the ball to a forward. That's what the forwards are on the field. And then a brilliant foot pass down here along the wing. And, you know, Down are able to do this. Their crossfield passing, Paul McCutcheon, Mark Poland, all those fellas have been very good. And they're handing the ball off to the player who should be shooting. And, you know, it's a very simple looking game, whereas for Cork, it's quite labelled.
A big contrast between the teams, when you're looking at it from here, is that Down's runs are always diagonal and cross field, pulling everybody out of position. We're looking down the field. I kid you not. The 3 Cork full forwards are standing. They are standing in position. You know, and I mean, that's difficult enough when you're playing one-on-one football, but when you're playing against 12 men behind the ball, I mean, the 2 scores that Cork have got from play are verging on the miraculous, magnificent points. You know?
Well, the other thing that didn't move in that first half, Pat, was the goalposts, and Cork seemed to have a problem finding
them. This is an argument I have all year. I mean, these games are still won by the teams who can get the more scores, and I don't know whether there's enough emphasis being put on shooting, but Alan O'Connor, first minute of the game, and shouldn't be shooting, but this shooting from the outside of the right foot. Now, you can make a justification for Alan, he's a midfielder. That was a bad miss by Paul Kerrigan, and again, that's an awful kick. He's unopposed. I mean, in senior inter-county championship football, that the team who have probably 50% possession get their first score from play after 31 minutes. But I would agree with Joe. They obviously had decided, right, we're going to move the ball fast today. So they had, but after that they hadn't made them, because as Joe pointed, there's no movement from the full forward line, and even when they get it, it's by accident. But then when they do get it, there's no one coming off the shoulder at pace. So they said we're going to move it, but somebody forgot to put in plan B.
But from the throw-in though, Colin O'Rourke, they moved that ball fast. They moved it through the down offence. They got chances. They got a goal chance. They could have had a couple of goals out of this.
There's no doubt about it. They're running through the centre of the down defence fairly easily, which, you know, should give them a certain amount of hope. And, you know, this was a fairly easy chance. Sheehan should have finished here, but like when you get the rebound, now Dan McCartan brings off a miraculous save.
So did the goalkeeper McVeigh.
Yeah, and he got it. Sheehan should have gone around him.
It has always been a failing, of this Cork team. Cork teams don't score goals. They've played 7 matches in this year's championship. They've got 4 goals, and they've been playing against some poor teams.
But do you not agree, Pat, that it's not so much the missing of the goal chance and the missing a couple of the chances. What it does is it sums up the lack of confidence that's in the ranks. You know, if that had been down coming through there, Danny Hughes or Benny Coulter, the ball would have been the net, the crowd would have been up. As it is, it's been a huge downer for Cork.
By the way, Michael, we're not writing them off.
Oh no, I know that. I know
Well,
that.
I am. You're not.
All right. Well, Joe is the West Ireland. We're going to take a break here in the programme. The second half of this year's All Ireland football final coming up now, plus our big competition, because you